Hey YouTube, I'm at EPN and we are going to do a lift on the Jeep. We have the Mopar 2-inch lift, and so I'm going to show you what I'm going to measure real quick for you guys, and this is going to be really awkward because I'm using a tape measure here, but I'm going to measure like right here up to the fender well. I'm going to measure right here like up to the bottom of the rock rail, up to the rock rail at the start of the next fender, like right here, the center of the fender to the ground, like where the little pin is, and also the top of my trailer hitch, just so like I know like what changed. And so I went through and I did all these measurements already, just to make this easy. So this is what we have right here: Falcon P285R 70R15 tires. These are the stock tires that come with Rubicons. The front fender, this measurement right here, to the fender to the ground is 39 inches on the front, and on the rear, believe it or not, it's 38 3/4. I was actually expecting this one to be taller than the other one, because normally, you know, trucks are kind of slanted like that, but apparently, you know, they raise the fenders up in the front. So because they raise the fenders up in the front is 1/4 of an inch taller stock than the back, on the fender itself, not on the body. Then the expectation on the measurements here on the rock rails themselves, like at the end of the fender, that was just an arbitrary spot I picked, 16 inches 3/4 on the front. The bottom is 17.5 on the rear, and that would be like right here at the side of this part of the door. So basically what I'm saying is there's a 3/4 inch kind of angle on the body right now, like out of the box, and the hitch height is 18.5 inches. We've measured that also. Here are all the measurements right here. Maybe you can see them on YouTube. So we're gonna go and we're gonna install the 2-inch lift, the Mopar lift on the Gladiator, and then afterwards I'll go do the measurements again, and then we will see the differences, and I'll let you know. My understanding is it's a 2-inch lift, but most of the lift is in front, so it's more like a leveling kit, but I don't know, we'll see. And this will help out with our breakover angle. So we will see when we are at the EPN Service Center right here, Eric Knoll's shop, and we'll show you after the lift happens. Thanks. Here's the box we teased on Facebook, and yeah, that's the lift kit there. It comes with a box, and you get to keep the box, obviously. That's what's in the lift kit. People were asking about it, and it's all nicely wrapped suspension. We'll show it off like exactly what it is. These are the front shocks. You can see they're clearly bigger than the Rubicon ones. The Rubicon ones are the ones that are red. The black and white ones are the new ones. And yes, the new ones do not have the little protector on there, most likely because of clearance. And then the other thing, if you notice, if you look carefully, is they're offset a little bit. They're not symmetric on the end. Here are the rear shocks, and you can see even the rear shocks are larger. So you definitely want to install the shocks with this kit. I know that I've seen things on some forums about them not being needed. Here are the sway bar links. You can see the installed ones are the new ones, and then the dirty ones in my hand are the old ones. And you can see the ride height will be significantly higher when you're just, you know, like driving around on the street, just because of the sway bars alone. But you know, all the components are substantially bigger. And this is with the shocks installed and the springs installed, and there's the bump stock just sitting there. We haven't tightened it down, which became a little bit of an issue. Now, pay attention to this. You see how it's offset, like right above the bolt. The shock is like inward, it's not outward at the base. That's important, so make sure you pay attention to the instructions when you install it, that you have it pointed the right way. And the new suspension. These are the lower control arms, and they look nearly identical. The only thing that we really thought was different was maybe the bushings had a little more clearance. And we thought that they were almost not even needed. They were just shaved a little bit on the end. There are the springs, and they're progressive springs in that they're not symmetric. You can see they're smaller on one side than they are on the other, meaning that they give you kind of a softer ride when they start to compress, and then they have the thicker spring for, you know, larger compression. There's a Jeep up on the arms in a shop, and he has 3 different bays, so this is one of the bays, and we're doing the install of the lift kit in the shop. And yeah, that's Eric. That's the buggy behind it, one of the X-Raw competition buggies that's being worked on, in the bay next to it. So here is the rear sway bar links, and you can see they are clearly larger also. And we'll do all the measurements and stuff afterwards, so you can see the difference. This is the bump stop, the square piece, the big black square piece, obviously on the right. and you can see that there's a couple inches there of bump stop that they're added. So there is the entire suspension, the stock suspension that we took off, right there on the ground. I have it at my house in the garage, obviously. So the front bump stop there, the little black round piece that's in the center of the spring, is a huge pain. We had to use this. This is called a strap wrench. It's like a piece of seat belt that's on a piece of metal, and then you can put a socket wrench on the end of it, just like a wrench, and you can wrench it down. The Mopar, for whatever reason, put no means to attach onto the thing. Like, there's not even a hex hole or anything to hold onto it, so that's what we had to do to hold onto it to tighten the bump stop. So here it is here. We did a fake out image on Facebook that nobody bought. They are more concerned with the badges. So if you look, like, it looks like the Jeep is like monster big, but if you also look, you'll notice it's still on the lift. We just like lowered the lift low enough to like fully flex out the suspension, and even my wife, Kimberly, didn't even buy this. That it was like lifted like 8 or 9 inches off the ground. But we tried it, it didn't work. But those were fake out images, but like nobody even said anything. So here it is. This is the final product of the Jeep, and this is what it looks like with simply the 2-inch lift on the Jeep with the stock wheels, like the Rubicon wheels to be specific, Rubicon trim package. And if you want to see, you know, what it will look like with a Mopar, quote unquote, what they call the 2-inch lift, and you'll see why I'm calling it like the quote unquote. This is what it looks like, and we're happy with what we ended up with. Honestly, it's nice. So here's all the magic measurements that I did. So the first thing that you're going to notice is basically the rock rails are 20 inches off the ground. So they've been leveled, so to speak, because before the rear was 17.5 and the front was 16.75. So before the rear was a little bit higher, so that's sort of normal on trucks for the rear to be a little bit higher, but you can see that it's been leveled, and they're both exactly 20, and I'm talking about the green numbers. Then the other thing to point out is if you look at the height difference, the rear went up 2.5 inches, the front went up 3.25 inches. They call this a 2-inch lift, but the smallest measurement in difference was like this, like 2.5 inch. So it was at least a 2-inch lift is what I want to call it. Then the other thing to notice is the suspension. It's a lot of different parts, so a lot of different things kind of move different ways, but I wanted to document as much as I could everything that changed and the new numbers, so people could, you know, do their math and figure out tire sizes and stuff if they really wanted to. But the front fenders went up 3 inches, the rear fenders went up 2.25 inches. So basically the fenders now are almost level. The front is still raked up a little bit, and then the rock rails at the bottom are basically level now also. So this is kind of like a leveling kit when you think about it, and the minimum lift that you're going to get is basically like 2.5 inches. And then the trailer hitch also went up 3 inches and a quarter with a lift. And so the trailer hitch, like, I don't understand how all these measurements work, but the trailer hitch and the front rock rail went up the same amount, but the rear rock rail didn't go up as much. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I went and I measured it, and that's what I ended up with. So hopefully I didn't mess up any of the measurements, but this is what we have now. We didn't have to do an alignment or anything because there was nothing that we touched on the steering at all. Like, there was no steering components that we touched, and I drove it around and I thought maybe the steering wheel had maybe moved like 1 degree, like so little you couldn't even perceive a difference. But after driving it around enough, like, I basically decided that like the steering wheel didn't even move as easy as it would be to move the steering wheel. So there was no alignment or nothing like that was even necessary. It was essentially the whole thing was bolt on. It was very, very easy to install, minus the front bump stops. For whatever god-awful reason, they didn't put any means to hold on to them, and they had to be inside the spring like that, so we had to use a strap wrench. So I did a ride the next day, and you're going to see the footage from after the ride of me comparing my Jeep to another Jeep that just happened to be on the ride with us. So here's a comparison that you can compare if you want to see. Hey YouTube, so we just finished a ride. There's another Gladiator that's built up, and I wanted to just compare the two of them. So like, go be Gladiator, go be Gladiator. This one's mine.
We just put the 2-inch lift on, and we still have the stock tires. He has 37s on his, and on his, I think he put a puck lift in to get it so it'll space out. So I got a tape measure here. Let's do a quick tape measure just because we can. So looking at these actual tires, 32 inches tall. Looking at the 37s, we're looking at like about 35, 30 and a half inches tall. That's sort of normal for tires to not be as tall as they advertise. Let's take a couple more measurements just to kind of see the end. So looking at the center of the driver's side fender, the base of it is like a line, 42 inches. On his, look at that, 42 and a half. Almost exactly the same height, half an inch difference. Let's look at the difference. 20 inches down here. Mine's 19 and a half. So it looks like the difference in what I did and what he did is about half an inch. That's 40 and a half on the side on the fender. On his, let's see how it looks. Just straighten out the fender. This 42. 40. Let's do this again. 42. Wow. 40 and a half. So inch and a half difference on the back, but half an inch difference in the front. So mine is more leveled, which I was expecting from the lift kit. His still has the slope a little bit, but he does have like half an inch on me. But he, like I said, did pucks with bigger tires, and we left the stock tires on and did the lift. So we should be much bigger than him, probably like once we put new tires on, basically. But anyway, mine's Gobi. His is like a little bit slightly green, even though mine's like super dirty right now. But you can see the difference on the lifts. So anyway, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys around. All right.
Hey, so you probably heard some differences like in the numbers between this and that. These numbers right here were what I measured at the shop, like before we had the lift on and immediately afterwards, with the same pressure, sway bars connected and all that stuff on the same pavement. The numbers from the parking lot were like right after a ride. The air pressure was probably different. The sway bars may not have even been connected. Different type of terrain. And maybe the suspension settled a little bit, but I just want to let you know that, like, yes, the numbers are different. Hey, so we will see you guys around. Please like and subscribe, and we'll do that ride that you just kind of saw a hint of next.